Let me take you back to a spring afternoon when the air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers and the gentle hum of bees. My garden, usually a place of peace and promise, felt different that day. The sunlight danced across the leaves, but beneath the beauty, a challenge was brewing, one that would test not just my gardening skills, but my patience and determination as well. I remember standing there, sweat on my brow, feeling utterly defeated. My hands ached from hours of digging and tending, yet nothing seemed to change. It was as if the earth itself was resisting me, refusing to yield to my efforts. Every gardener knows that feeling, the moment when you wonder if all your hard work is for nothing. I stared at a stubborn patch, compacted, lifeless, and impossible to work with. The soil was hard as concrete, and every attempt to break it up left me more frustrated. It was a patch that seemed to mock my every effort, daring me to try something new. No matter what I tried, compost, amendments, you name it, nothing worked. I hauled in bags of organic matter, mixed in minerals, and watered religiously, hoping for a miracle. But the soil remained stubborn, refusing to soften or spring to life. It was as if all my knowledge and experience had hit a wall. My zinnias drooped, peppers stalled, and earthworms were nowhere to be found. The vibrant colors I had hoped for faded, and the garden beds looked emptier with each passing day. Even the birds seemed to avoid that patch, as if they sensed something was missing beneath the surface. I was ready to give up, but then a conversation with an old farmer friend changed everything. He saw my frustration and listened patiently as I poured out my gardening woes. Sometimes all it takes is a fresh perspective, or in this case, a bit of old wisdom passed down through generations. He didn't suggest a fancy product, just a trick from his grandmother, plain, uncooked rice. At first I thought he was joking. Rice, in the garden. It sounded too simple, almost silly, compared to all the complicated solutions I'd tried. Rice? I was skeptical, but he insisted it could transform my soil by inviting life back underground. He explained that rice, as it breaks down, becomes a food source for beneficial microbes and earthworms, kick-starting the natural processes that healthy soil needs. He described it as a feast for the unseen world beneath our feet. The rice would attract bacteria and fungi, which in turn would draw in earthworms and other tiny creatures. Slowly, the soil would loosen, darken, and come alive again, just as it had in his grandmother's garden decades ago. That simple tip marked a turning point in my gardening journey. Suddenly, I felt a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, the answer wasn't in expensive products or endless labor, but in trusting nature's own cycles and the wisdom of those who came before us. I decided to give it a try. With a handful of rice, I sprinkled it over the stubborn patch, feeling a mix of doubt and anticipation. It was a small act, but it felt significant, a leap of faith in the power of simple solutions. Sometimes the best solutions are hiding in plain sight. We overlook them because they seem too easy, too ordinary. But nature often rewards those who pay attention to the little things, who are willing to try something new, even if it sounds unconventional. So, let's dive into what this trick is all about, and see how a handful of rice can breathe new life into even the most stubborn garden soil. The secret behind this age-old gardening hack: it's fermented rice water, made from just two humble ingredients, plain rice and water. No fancy additives, no expensive store-bought solutions, just a simple, natural process that transforms everyday kitchen staples into a powerful tool for your garden. When you rinse rice before cooking, the water turns cloudy. That's because it's picking up starches, trace minerals, and tiny particles from the rice grains. Instead of pouring this water down the drain, you can capture it and let it ferment for a few days at room temperature. This isn't just about watering your plants with leftover rice water, it's about creating a living, microbial-rich elixir that can supercharge your soil. As the rice water ferments, it becomes a dynamic solution teeming with beneficial life. For generations, especially across Asia, farmers have relied on this rice wash as a natural probiotic for their gardens. It's a tradition passed down through families, rooted in the wisdom of working with nature rather than against it. What makes it so special? It's packed with beneficial microbes, especially lactobacillus, the same friendly bacteria found in yogurt and other fermented foods. These microbes help break down organic matter in the soil, making nutrients more accessible to your plants. The real magic happens during fermentation. It's not the rice itself that holds the power, but the transformation that takes place as the water sits and ferments. You'll notice bubbles forming and a slightly sour aroma, signs that the microbial community is thriving. As the rice water ferments, it becomes a bustling colony of microorganisms. These tiny helpers work together to break down complex compounds in the soil, releasing nutrients and improving soil structure. When you pour this living brew onto your garden beds, you're essentially jump-starting your soil's ecosystem. The microbes multiply, helping to unlock nutrients that were previously unavailable to your plants, and encouraging robust, healthy growth. Think of fermented rice water as a catalyst, not a fertilizer. It doesn't directly feed your plants like chemical fertilizers do. Instead, it empowers the soil's natural processes, making it easier for plants to access what they need. Over time, this approach restores balance to your garden. Earthworms and other beneficial creatures thrive, soil structure improves, and your plants become more resilient to pests and disease, all thanks to a simple, homemade solution. And the best part? You can combine this rice water trick with other natural methods like composting kitchen scraps to build healthier soil from the ground up, no chemicals required. So, let's see how this simple, ancient trick can transform your garden. One batch of rice water at a time. Exploding worms sounds wild, almost like something out of a science fiction movie, right? But don't worry, there's nothing dangerous or gross happening here. Instead, we're talking about a fascinating and totally natural phenomenon that gardeners absolutely love. When we say exploding worms, we're really describing a sudden dramatic increase in earthworm numbers in your soil. It's a sign that something amazing is happening underground, and it's all thanks to a little kitchen science. Imagine peeking under the surface of your garden and finding it teeming with life. Earthworms everywhere, wriggling and thriving. That's what we mean by a booming worm population. It's not just fun to see, it's a sign your soil is becoming healthier and more fertile by the day. So, what's the secret to this underground explosion? Fermented rice water. This humble liquid, made from soaking and fermenting rice, is packed with starches, natural sugars, and a whole army of beneficial bacteria. To earthworms, it's like a 5-star meal served right in their home. The nutrients and microbes in fermented rice water create the perfect environment for worms to thrive. When you pour fermented rice water onto your soil, you're not just feeding the worms, you're supercharging their entire ecosystem. Earthworms eat more, grow bigger, and reproduce at lightning speed with this new food source. Their activity increases, and soon, you'll notice more and more worms every time you dig. In fact, under the right conditions, a healthy worm population can double in just a couple of months. That means more worms working hard to improve your soil, all thanks to a simple kitchen ingredient. Why does this matter? Because earthworms are nature's best soil engineers. As they tunnel and burrow, they break up compacted soil, making it easier for roots to grow. Their movement creates tiny channels that let air and water reach deep into the ground, and their castings, those little piles of worm poop, are packed with nutrients that plants love. Pouring fermented rice water is like opening a buffet for worms. They sense the feast, migrate toward it, and get right to work. The result? A garden bed that's alive with activity, where worms are constantly multiplying and enriching your soil. Before long, your once lifeless or compacted soil transforms into a bustling underground metropolis. Roots grow deeper, plants look healthier, and the whole garden ecosystem becomes more resilient. This is the ultimate sign of healthy soil. Rich, crumbly earth full of worms and their castings. It's the foundation for a thriving garden. And it's not just worms. Those beneficial microbes in the rice water help break down organic matter, making nutrients more available to plants. The microbes feed the worms feed your soil, and your plants thrive. It's a beautiful cycle of life, all starting with a simple homemade solution. And the best part? You don't need fancy equipment or expensive products. It all starts with that simple fermented kitchen water you can make at home. Ready to make your own and kickstart your own worm explosion? Here's how you can turn your kitchen scraps into garden gold. Making this garden elixir is easy, no special skills required. Grab uncooked rice, any kind, a clean jar, and non-chlorinated water. Add half a cup of rice to 2 or 3 cups of water in the jar. Shake or stir vigorously to release the starches. The water will turn cloudy. That's what you want. Strain out the rice. Cook it later if you like, and keep the milky water. This is your rice wash, loaded with nutrients and ready for fermentation. That's stage 1 done. Simple, right? Next, let's turn this into a powerhouse for your soil. Now, let the transformation begin. Fermentation time. Cover your jar loosely, cheesecloth or a loose lid, to let gases escape. Store it in a warm, dark spot for 3 to 7 days. The microbes will multiply, feeding on the starches and creating a tangy, sweet-sour aroma. If it smells pleasant, it's ready. If it smells rotten, start over. Once fermented, dilute the rice water, 1 part rice water to 10 parts water. You now have a living soil probiotic, teeming with beneficial microbes. Use it right away, or refrigerate for up to 2 weeks. Now, let's put it to work in your garden. With your diluted rice water, you're ready to revive your garden. Pour it directly onto the soil around your plants, vegetables, fruit trees, flowers, even houseplants. For compacted or struggling areas, give an extra heavy drench. The microbes and nutrients soak in, inviting worms and life back underground. You can also use it as a foliar spray. Just strain well to avoid clogging your sprayer. The real magic happens in the soil, so prioritize drenching the root zone. Apply every 2 weeks during the growing season, or when planting new seedlings. It's a simple way to give your plants a strong, healthy start. The rice trick isn't an overnight miracle, it's a long-term transformation. After a few weeks, I noticed my dead patch was darker, softer, and alive with worms. The soil became crumbly, rich, and full of that earthy smell gardeners love. The rice water fuels microbes, which feed worms, which improve soil structure and fertility. Over a season, my worst patch became my most productive. Healthier plants, fewer pests, and tastier harvests, all from feeding the soil, not just the plants. This is the heart of organic gardening, building a self-sustaining ecosystem. With patience and consistency, you'll see your soil come alive too. The benefits go beyond worms. Fermented rice water unlocks nutrients, making them more available to plants. Healthier soil means stronger, more resilient plants, less disease, fewer pests. Improved soil structure boosts water retention, so you water less and your plants handle drought better. It's also a sustainable way to reduce kitchen waste and close the loop between your kitchen and garden. Every batch connects you to a cycle of growth and renewal. Sometimes, the simplest solutions are the most powerful. 10. That's the rice trick, a simple, sustainable way to revive your soil and garden. From worm booms to healthier plants, it's changed the way I grow. I hope you'll give it a try and share your results in the comments. Subscribe for more practical, science-based gardening tips. Let's keep learning and growing together, one garden at a time. Share this with a fellow gardener and help spread the word. Thanks for joining me today. Until next time, happy growing. 8.